All right. Good evening. Welcome to Eugene Police Commission. Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2024. I'm Chair Jensina Hawkins, and tonight we have actually a special event happening. We have some special guests joining us this evening. We have family of our late chair, Dallas Boggs. We have Jada, Diana, Grandma, who I believe is also named Bev, but we'd all decided to call her Grandma. Paula and Randy are joining online. Janice is online. Cornell is online. Sandy is online, and Lynette is online. We have any others, Holly?
And
Beatrice.
Can you, if you want to promote them, you'll have to bring.
Yes.
Okay.
And also this evening, I believe Holly, our city staff liaison, will be taking some photos of some of the events this evening for our city council presentation. Well, one thing I was going to mention, I'm very happy to announce that Commissioner Booker at the NAACP Freedom Fund dinner received one of the first annual Dallas Boggs Community Connector Awards. And it was very pleasant to see his surprise, watch him humbled by that, and provide an amazing acceptance speech for that. So thank you very much, Commissioner Booker, for your service and for carrying on Chair Boggs' legacy.
Thank you for the acknowledgement. I wanted to say, first and foremost, thank you to his family and the fact that the award was named after him, especially his daughter. She's very instrumental in a lot of his decision-making processes and the way he spoke and just his nature. So Jada, everything that's good in him is you. So thank you to his family, and thank you for that award. And I couldn't have done half the things that I've been able to accomplish in this city if it wasn't for the friendship that I had with former chair and commissioner Dallas Boggs. So thank you to his family, his daughter, and thank you for the acknowledgement.
I would say probably all of us at the table and online can agree with that sentiment. We would not be where we are in this community without the support and the friendship of Dallas. Our previous meeting recap, reviewing the agenda. We are going to add a few minutes for the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Committee update. And this evening we do have elections. Holly will be conducting most of the business for that particular agenda item. In our previous meeting, we decided on a recommendation to City Council, which is still currently waiting on me. Holly has very helpfully provided some example memos of recommendations to City Council for me to follow to provide that structure. The camera policy 1210 Scott Lemon's policy has been signed with the additions that were made at our last meeting. So congratulations, Commissioner Lemons. You definitely spearheaded that one through. And we reviewed the Narcan policy and passed a motion for an edit to that, which we will revisit this evening. There was some other information that came out for us to bring back to the table again. That was our previous meeting. For this evening, we are going to begin with certificates of appreciation. Since we have the family of Dallas, we will start with our late Chair Boggs. The certificate says, Eugene Police Department Certificate of Appreciation presented to Police Commissioner Dallas Boggs, March 5, 2024. Dallas Boggs, your work with the Eugene Police Commission has served the community honorably since July 27, 2020. You provided valuable insight on countless police policy, procedure reviews, and subject matter, including law enforcement, mental health and wellness, downtown safety, public safety cameras, use of less lethal force for crowd control, diversity, equity, and inclusion, community outreach, domestic violence, and recruitment efforts to hire officers of color and gender inclusivity. You served as chair of the commission honorably for 3 consecutive terms. Your esteemed leadership guided the commission to recommend policies and procedures which supported the Eugene Police Department in creating a safer and more inclusive approach to policing. Because of the outstanding work that you have accomplished through the Police Commission and for the Eugene Police Department, you are hereby awarded the Eugene Police Department Certificate of Appreciation. Thank you for your service. The certificate is signed by Chief Skinner and Mayor Lucy Venice. Jada.
Oh.
Accepting on behalf of Chair Boggs is his daughter Jada. Would you ladies like to say anything? We also have in the folks online, we can promote them panelists as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me get a picture real quick.
Oh. Okay. Which would you drop first? Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm
Sure.
the ability to do that.
Did you say anything? Where's the microphone? I always forget where the microphone is.
Towards that way.
I don't really have anything eloquent to say, but I just know that being a part of this group and being able to lead it was just really important to my dad. And I know that he would really appreciate and be honored by this. And just thank you all for all you do and all you did for. Thank
He
you.
was great at it.
Yes. He was a
Yes.
powerful presence.
He did so much for me
Yes.
and all of us.
Diana, Bev, did you have anything?
I'm
you
okay.
wanted- Okay,
I'd like to say something.
absolutely, Grandma. Grandmas can always talk here.
He was my son. He was a good man.
And he loved his family so much. He bragged all the time on his family, especially here. But we heard all about all of the other relatives, where they were, what jobs they held, what positions they held, what people they met. But he was so devoted to all of you.
Our family dinners are not quite the same.
I can only imagine. Holly, do we have any hands up for you needed me
Yes,
for what?
yeah.
How do I do that? Do you know?
So you just. And should be.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Go. Yeah.
So on the Zoom, I'm going to promote the members of Dallas's family to a panelist so that they can raise their hand or speak. And if they would like to make any comments, you are all welcome, including Sandy. Do you know who KJB is? Is that one of our public? Mhm. You're also welcome to put comments in the chat.
I think I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes, Lynette, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yes, I was just screeching in from a planning commission meeting here in Little Rock, and so I'm glad I was able to make it. But I know that, those of us that work in local government and serve in boards and commissions, we're the body of government closest to the people. And I know that was something that my brother took a lot of pride and passion about, being a part of the solutions. And I know that even he had invited me to speak to this body at one time on just domestic violence issues in the communities. And so know that one of the last things that he and I had even talked about and Holly had helped with was that here in Little Rock, we had created a public safety commission, and he and Holly had graciously sent your bylaws to me, and those have been even incorporated into some of the policies and bylaws of the city of Little Rock. And so know that not only is my brother's work continued and reaching in places, but your work and everyone in this chat and sitting around the table, that your impact not only touched my brother, but your work continues to touch even me and what I do in my existence. So thank you for what you do for your community. And I hope next time I'm in Eugene that I'm sure we'll have opportunity to see one another and continue serving the citizens of our respective communities.
I think I speak for all of our commission, Lynette, when I say it's an honor, and especially for those of us who are trying to step into very big shoes that got left behind. Is,
Like Paula has.
oh,
That's right.
I can't see hands on my screen, sorry.
I think my mom wanted to say something.
Oh, yes, please do.
I want to say good evening to the staff here in the city of Eugene, Oregon, on this commission. And it is an honor for me as a mother to have been the mother of Dallas Boggs. I feel that he lived a very full life, and it was an honor to be the mother of a son who cared for his community so much in so many different ways. And I think all of you who worked with him and had an effect, a very positive effect on his life and the other lives and the many lives that he touched. And that really gives me peace of mind as the mother of a young man who lived a very full life. And I am very proud of all the things that my son did, especially the things that he did in the city of Eugene, Oregon. Thank you for being a friend of my son. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any other hands? Commissioners, did you have would any of the commissioners like to speak while we have Dallas's family? Commissioner Lemons?
He changed my life through and through. He made me feel welcome at this table, welcome in city government. He was a force of nature, and he still is. His legacy lives on in all of us. I just really want to express my appreciation again. I got so teared up at the NAACP gala that I couldn't even finish my speech because that was such a loss to me, but also I've made a promise to myself and to Dallas that I'm going to keep that legacy going and live up to everything that he saw in me. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for allowing Dallas to be in my life.
He had an eye for potential. He could spot a diamond in the rough, and just somehow that person became who he believed they were. Commissioner Booker?
Well, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Dallas's family, his sisters. I know how much he loved you. He made me an extended part of your family. And to his mother, thank you so much. You have an extended son in me. I'll never forget what you said to me the day of the funeral. It still stuck to me, and I'll never forget it. So you definitely have extended family in me. And anytime y'all come to Eugene, you have another son, another brother here. And I'm always here for you, always will be. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your family.
Thank you very much for joining us and coming in person to accept Dallas's certificate.
I'm glad I could come. It's just all beautiful to see you all and to, I don't know, to celebrate.
Yeah. I don't feel like there's ever enough celebration we could do for Dallas. Exactly. He was larger than life, even continuing on. He's still larger than life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Thanks for coming in person.
Our next certificate of appreciation is for Police Commissioner Silverio Mogart. Today, June 13, 2024. The certificate reads, Silverio Mogart, your work with the Eugene Police Commission has served the community honorably since July 14, 2016. I didn't even know there was 8 years involved there. You provided valuable insight on numerous police policies, procedure reviews, and subject matter, including code of conduct, armed barricaded subject, drones, pursuits, canine program, car camping, downtown safety, public safety cameras, use of less lethal force for crowd control, community outreach, and recruitment efforts to hire staff of color and gender inclusivity. You served as vice chair of the commission honorably from 2021 until 2022. In addition, you served on the recommendations subcommittee on several occasions, providing invaluable input on recommending new members to the police commission through the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as a founding member of the local LULAC, you represented members of the Latino community and ensured their voices were heard as it pertained to police policy and procedures. Because of the outstanding work that you have accomplished through the Police Commission and for the Eugene Police Department, you are hereby awarded the Eugene Police Department Certificate of Appreciation. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'm still a little bitter that I've never gotten to meet you in person. I've heard
I
your-
was sure we had. I was sure we had. And Jeremy, because of my work on the ad hoc committee and because I've done so many different serving on bringing in new people, had promised me a personal pizza.
Oh, I believe you have a job to do, Holly.
Still waiting for that. I gave up game 6 of the World Series for police policy stuff. So
That's a really big sacrifice.
yeah,
And
the
especially for
Dodgers hadn't
police
won in like 20 plus years. So
well, we appreciate your service and the expertise and the insights that you have brought to us.
cool.
And Holly will make sure the certificate, and I believe a pan pizza will make its way to you.
I just want my coin. That's all I want.
It's on there. I got it.
Wait.
And our third certificate of appreciation this evening is for Police Commissioner Scott Lemons, also dated June 13, 2024. Scott Lemons, your work as the Human Rights Commission liaison to the Eugene Police Commission has served the community honorably since February 28, 2022. Did you want that pizza? Okay. Sorry, Scott. Didn't mean to jump into the middle. You provided valuable insight on numerous police policy, procedures, and subject matters, including public safety cameras, downtown safety, use of less lethal force for crowd control, officer safety, domestic violence, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. In addition, you served on the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Subcommittee from 2023 until present. You also served on several recommendation subcommittees to provide valuable insight on recommending new members to the Police Commission. Your perspective, human compassion, and participation has been a wonderful asset to the Commission and will be missed. Because of the great work that you have accomplished through the Police Commission and for the Eugene Police Department, you are hereby awarded the Eugene Police Department Certificate of Appreciation. Thank you. Would you like to say anything, Commissioner Lemons?
I'm quite honored. I did not realize that I was going to have this on my wall here pretty soon. Would have never thought from my life experience that that would have been on my wall. But I'm so glad that y'all gave me a spot at this table. You made me feel very important. You made me feel like my opinions mattered, which to the disabled community has been something that we have not been afforded before. So, and the work that we have all done, the work that we have done, right? I'm just so honored to just be a part of it and a small part of it. And I will reserve the rest of my comments for my closing.
I know I personally have benefited from your experience on both of the commissions, and the insights that you provided to me have been invaluable. So thank you so much for that and for your friendship. We will move into the chair and vice chair elections for the fiscal year 2025.
Oh, Chair.
Yes.
Oh, I just
Sorry.
want, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just want to say real quick, I wanted to thank Commissioners Mogart and Commissioners Lemon for your voices and for challenging the system. I definitely have learned a lot from the two of you, and I really appreciate it. You've always been a big supporter of me, even before I joined the commission with my nonprofit. So I want to make sure that you guys know that I really, truly appreciate you, and both of you are going to be greatly, greatly missed, especially your voices. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Booker.
Holly? Okay, we're going to be moving on to commission leadership elections. So on June 30th, 2024, Commissioner Jensina Hawkins will end her term as interim chair and vice chair. The bylaws specify that the chair and vice chair shall serve for 1 year. A commissioner may not be elected as chair for more than 3 successive terms, and the election will be held no later than the commission's regular meeting in June. Some information, this is from our bylaws. Any member may nominate a candidate from the membership for position of chair or vice chair. Nominations need not be seconded. A member may withdraw his or her name if placed in nomination, announcing that, if elected, he or she would not be able to serve, but he or she may not withdraw in favor of another member. Any member may move to close the nominations. A second is required. If the motion carries, the chair then calls for the election. The votes for all committee members will be recorded by the minutes recorder. There's no secret ballots are prohibited, and some recommending voting process is either by saying yay or nay, show of hands, or physically rising from your seat. I would like to get started. Anyone would like to make a nomination for chair?
I would love to nominate interim chair Jensina Hawkins for our future chair. She has brought us through one of probably the hardest transitions and struggles with the loss of Dallas Boggs. I remember when he left this plane, she checked in with every single commissioner before it was ever even like publicly known, just to be like, "Are you okay?" Also, she has a very, very good skill in bringing people from all sides of opinions together, and she really does have quite a not just compassion, but dedication to bringing people in person and to having conversations. And with her experience going through the last year, which was, and I do apologize, but it must have been very hard on your part. I think she's fully proved herself to be chair, and I guess I will leave it there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have any other nominations?
I move to close the nominations.
Second.
And this is where I call for the elections for me.
Yes.
It's not awkward at all. All right, so for the sake of the minutes recorder, all in favor of having me continue as your chair for the next year, please say aye one at a time so that the recorder can document. Thank you, Commissioner Lemons. I'll take that as an aye. Thank you, Commissioner Lyman. Thank you, Councilor Ye. Commissioner Booker, Commissioner Parham, Commissioner Shivers. Any opposed or abstentions? Because we have to document those as well. Commissioners Mogart and Councilor Zelenka, I don't have a vote yet from either of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm
Councilor-
abstaining. I'll be abstaining since I'm stepping away.
Oh, thank you. And Councilor Zelenka, just to be sure, you abstained as well?
No, I voted yes.
Oh, thank you very much. And also thank you. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
Thank you, Chair. Now, actually, Chair. I would like to nominate Commissioner Shivers for Vice Chair of the Police Commission. I think you and him can work really well. He has such an understanding of the bylaws for us to make our efforts more sustainable and more listened to by City Council and our chief. And I think you would be the perfect duo to bring us into the future.
Do we have any other nominations?
I'll eliminate myself.
I'm going to nominate myself. We have a chance to talk.
Sure.
Talk.
Yes.
I'm not super, I'm happy with any outcome that comes out of it. My agenda is to try to make this group the most effective that it can be with the city, with the, in interacting with the city and its structure and with the police department. And my constituency is everyone to make policing better for the community, including every member of the community, regardless of, anything, it's just, I was the city prosecutor and a municipal judge for the city. I have some insights into how criminal justice works in the city. It's aged out a little bit, but that's also a helpful thing. I'm apart and separate from it. I'd be happy to do it. I think I could contribute, and I'm happy if you choose one of the other capable nominated people. So thank you for listening. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Booker?
Oh, thank you for the acknowledgement. I ran for vice chair last year against you. I would love to have a position basically because I'm involved in every facet pretty much of this city, historically, politically, even for as being a former state commissioner, I understand just the bureaucracy of the system, and I like to challenge the system instead of just going with the status quo. I would love to be able to represent the community and those mostly affected, but I'll leave that up to the hands of the commission. If not chosen, I would still use my voice as I've always have, but I feel like I would be a great vice chair, just for my ability to connect with people, understand the political climate and what's needed in order for us to challenge and change. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to close the nomination?
I would like to say something as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jensina, and thank you, Scott, for the nomination. After George Floyd was murdered, after we sort of stepped up during the time of COVID, I stepped back in favor of Dallas Boggs taking over as chair. And I am extremely honored by the nomination to be vice chair. Right now, my only priority is to make the most functional and effective police commission that we can have. I want to get through our work plan. I want to, create a place of stability where each of us can advocate for what we really believe in, and make a difference in this community. So, like the other two said, I'm not going to be upset by whoever the commission chooses, but I would be honored to serve in the vice chair capacity. Thank you. And yeah, I will nominate or move to close the nomination period now.
Is there a second?
No, second.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. So our contestants, I suppose, our candidates in order of nominations are Commissioner Shivers, Commissioner Booker, and Commissioner Lyman. We'll begin with Commissioner Shivers. All in favor of Commissioner Shivers, please say aye. Aye. So we have.
We can do this by secret ballot.
We're not allowed to. The city doesn't let us.
Oh, that's new.
It is new.
Okay.
Or new information anyway. It is.
Sorry for interrupting. Can we redo that?
All right. So all in favor of Commissioner Shivers being vice chair, please say aye. And so for our recorder, we have yay votes from Commissioner Lemons, Commissioner Hawkins, Counselor Ye, Commissioner Shivers. I didn't. Okay. All in favor of Commissioner Booker for vice chair, please say aye.
I'm going to say yes and vote yes on this one.
Thank you. So we have ayes from Commissioner Mogart, Commissioner Parham, and Commissioner Booker. And then for Commissioner Lyman, all in favor of Commissioner Lyman for vice chair, please say aye. And we have an aye from Commissioner Lyman and from Councilor Zuleika. Thank you. Ollie?
Chair,
Yes, Councilor.
I would like to change my vote to Commissioner Shivers.
Noted. Thank you. Do you call that or do I? Okay. So by majority, then Commissioner Shivers is now elected vice chair. So Commissioner Shivers and I will be your team running into 2025. Thank you very much for your confidence.
Thank you as well.
So now we move into reviewing the minutes from our last meeting on May 9th, 2024. I bet that was a challenge for our recorder because I know I got tangled up just trying to watch the recording on that one. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
I approve the minutes.
Yes, so I think we need to have the discussion first. So Commissioner Lemons,
I thought it had
oh, you
go
wanted to
second.
amend?
I thought it had to go second before it went to discussion.
I'm
But
sorry.
great
So
approach.
those on the Zoom may not have heard you move to amend.
Yes, yeah, I would like to move to amend, but I think we would need a second
Okay.
for discussion.
All right, can we have a second for a discussion to amend the minutes?
Sure, I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Yang.
Sweet. So the only addition that I would like to add to the minutes, and I'm sorry I did not, I think it was the union rep, but it was certainly someone in this room that said that the least experienced officers are on the night patrol because that is not that's the least desirable spot to be. And I would like that to be included in the minutes because I will be questioning on that on this meeting.
Commissioner Lemons, was that at the last meeting? I don't recall.
It was it was like a 10-second statement.
But she wasn't at our last meeting.
Right, we did not have Officer Tester. Was that a statement made?
Stated at the CRB on Tuesday. Were you listening to that? Is that the exact fact was stated Tuesday?
I actually did watch the CRB, but I also knew it came up on the police commission. I just cannot remember who brought it up.
We can have certainly have our recorder go back and look for that.
And I'm completely okay with that.
Okay, thank you for opening that. Then we table the motion to approve the minutes to our next meeting until our recorder has a chance to observe. Thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Lemons. Do we have to make a motion to table the minutes? Or can we just table it? I think we just table it. Okay, table. Then we'll move into liaison reports. I'm going to save Commissioner Lemons for last because I know he's got a shopping cart.
This time.
And Commissioner Lyman, you just referenced the CRB. So is this your final report to us as the CRB liaison before you are a full-fledged police commissioner?
Well, I believe I was a full-fledged police commissioner for the last 3 years.
Yes, that's
because
true.
of the unique structure that the
That
city
is
has.
true.
And
You
I
are.
think that will be true for Commissioner Booker as the liaison from the Human Rights Commission, that he'll be a full member. And but yes, I'm now free of the weight of the intense burden of being a member of the Civilian Review Board. And I will report on my last meeting. We examined a case. It was disturbing. It was a supervisor alone making an arrest in a loss prevention kind of in a store, retail store context. And there were 6 allegations. 2 of them were excessive force, and 1 of them was conduct unbecoming, unprofessional, putting the department in disrepute. There were 3 others. The main 3 were sustained pretty much across the board. And once again, the affirming that it's unfortunate that it happened. It was unfortunate that it was a supervisor. It's really fortunate. The complaint was generated by some newer officers who were in a discussion in a social context, discussing like things that they'd seen or experienced. And one of them happened to have been the loss prevention officer in the incident. And so it came to light 2 years later, and they were disturbed by the whole thing and brought it to the attention of command staff and all the way through the Deputy Chief Adams and Chief Skinner. That clearly was conduct that does not belong here. And so that was, a positive, again, that's been for me as a CRB, your liaison, their liaison to you, but now here with you. To me, the most heartening thing, a couple of takeaways, is that we have a strong police department made up of men and women that care and try to do the job and sometimes mess up. And we have a command staff that really is committed to doing right. And when wrong happens and things happen, and everyone's human and people. And we have such a robust system here. If you just spend any time on YouTube about review boards, civilian review, and an auditor, our auditor, and our police commission. It's a credit to the city council and its predecessors that we have this system, and it's good. And it's unfortunate that things happen, but we do have oversight. It's not perfect, but we do. And then is this commissioner comments? Can I go into my comment? Because we kind of have a little ambiguity around that.
That's true.
My comments are, I know we're accountable to a work plan, and the work plan is really important, but things come up in this community. And recently it was the women coming and telling us that there's a problem with women. It could be what happened in North Eugene High School. It could be, it just can be anything at any time. And this commission needs to be able to respond to those things and have discussions about them, and to understand. I hate to say this, because we do have a place, there's a structure, and we have to understand what we can do. And last month we sparred over wordsmithing what to tell, and we directed the chief to do something that we really didn't have the authority, to do, which is to engage an outside consultant. But the spirit of it was there, and we all agree that we want them, what we want them to do. And so I just think we need to be mindful of how to work with the city. And our new leadership should be mindful of that, and what our mission statement is, and what we can and can't do. And then to have some flexibility, particularly saying this for our vice chair, I'd like to see some flexibility in that when something comes up, that we are able to bring it up. And then on the commissioner side, I really don't like it when we put the chief on the spot, like with our personal, what we want to know about, without having sent him an email, without having, given a heads up to the chair or to Holly that I'm going to talk about this incident that happened, or I'd like information about something. That the ambush is completely does nothing and doesn't contribute to these meetings. So I'm off my high horse. I appreciate you listening, and I've been meaning to download that. And I thought elections and new leadership, we're gonna have a new group come in, and it's just I've said my piece. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Lyman. Well, so moving from that, you might as well have had a mic drop there. That was pretty epic. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. All right, Councilor Ye, can you bring us a liaison update from City Council?
Yeah, thanks. The only thing I really have is that, as you all know, there were elections. So I'm really excited for us to have some new members. We were talking earlier that hopefully some of them are watching or will watch in their spare time. Maybe tonight's not the best night, for them in their lives. But yeah, I don't have anything else to liaison or comment. So
Okay. Councilor Zelenka? Okay,
No comment, Chair.
thank you. Commissioner Lemons?
Sure. And I really hope that I know that I've ambushed you, and that is not intentional. Chief's gonna, you know, you told me like I unload a grocery cart, and that's never my intention.
Somehow I feel like I'm about ready to be ambushed.
Oh, so you're not yet.
When you started, okay,
Not yet. Yes, gotta be careful about the words.
It's like when someone starts off like, no disrespect.
Yeah, exactly. No offense meant, but.
Oh, never use the but word. That's horrible.
Okay.
Okay, so instead of reporting on last month's hate and bias incidents and crimes for
Commissioner Lemons, for the sake of those on the Zoom, will you please speak up?
Oh,
Because
yes,
it's important for them to hear as well.
Yes, thank you. So instead of reporting on the last month's hate and bias crimes, because Lieutenant Jeremy Williams is so thorough and it's on the public record, I am actually going to be speaking about two very important incidents that happened in the last 2 weeks, two incidents in the last 2 weeks that the Human Rights Commission is really looking out for. The first incident was broadcasted all over KBAL and hopefully other places. There was a witness, there was a license plate, and there was everything. And someone decided to pull over and urinate on a house person who just happened to be sleeping on the side of the road. And you know, the license plate is there, the witness is there. I know there was not another crime.
Commissioner Lemons, let me stop you for just a moment. For those on the Zoom, can you hear Commissioner Lemons?
Okay, I'll speak up. Thank you, Commissioner
Thank
Park.
you.
When I get nervous or get passionate, I tend to just always say, hey, speak up. So yeah, that number one on KBAL, you know, just pulling over just to urinate on someone because they're an unhoused citizen. And from my understanding from the Human Rights Commission, unhoused is a protected class. But because that unhoused person was not able to be identified or was not willing to report, that went nowhere from my understanding. And then the second one, which I was sadly had to witness, was a downtown hate crime where someone pulled over. There was just a woman walking down the road, and they just went and emptied out all the drinks that they could that were in their car on her. And I was there to record the aftermath of it because I had just came out. But there was 7 witnesses on that one, and then I was actually a victim of assault on that. And it still seems like that might not be going anywhere. And I'll get into the definition of assault later after your chief's comments. But that's the number one. The Human Rights Commission is very worried about this trend of seeing, you know, violence against the unhoused population. Secondly, and this comes from a statement that we are about to put out from the Human Rights Commission. So what officer discretion is utilized regarding classifying an incident as a hate or bias crime, and what systems do you report under? I imagine it's the DOJ and, you know, the new system, but I want to make sure, and the Human Rights Commission wants to make sure that that system is actually working. Number 3, what are the follow-ups on hate and bias incidents? And is there any objective way to measure the impacts on the community? And that might be a collaboration with EPD and OECD to figure that one out. And then lastly, for my liaison position, I need to shout out Councilor Zelenka. Can't see you there, but I hope you're hearing me. Thank you for being the only one on City Council that approved and voted against the downtown project without affordable housing. You are a champion for affordable housing. I really appreciate you, and I'm really disappointed in City Council for that decision. And I'm going to save for the agenda. I will reserve my council comments for when we get there. Thank you.
Okay. For commissioner comments, I'll start with Commissioner Booker.
I thought you were going to give the update for the mental health committee.
That comes after the commissioner comments.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I thought we was doing the liaison reports. Okay. No comments. No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Mogart. Commissioner Parham.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the department and everyone that September 1st, there's going to be the change of Measure 110. And I wanted to ask if the department was going to release any press release or any advisement on how they're going to actually address the issue in September, because I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of citizens that are possibly going to be like reporting drug use come September 1st. And I think the department should be ready to temper expectations in that event.
Would you like to address that now, Chief? Or wait?
I'll do it in my chief's comments. I'm
Thank you.
taking notes.
Councilor Ye, do you have commissioner comments?
Oh, no, I don't.
We'll try Councilor Zelenka again. Commissioner comments.
No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Shivers.
Yeah, I just want to say that, Alan, I heard what you said. I receive it and I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think for my commissioner comments, I would also agree with Commissioner Shivers and Commissioner Lemon. All right, Commissioner Lemons.
Thank you. So I'm going to wait for the chief's report to get into most of my comments because I don't want to ambush you. So instead, I'm just going to express my appreciation for you, especially Chief, and this entire commission for the work that we're doing. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. For the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Subcommittee update, it'll be a twofer this evening. Commissioner Parham is going to present an update. Oh, we have a hand up from Commissioner Booker.
Oh, it was just in reference to Commissioner Parham's. He was saying September 1st, the change on the Measure 110. Just to let you know, there is a deflection program that's being discussed and a grant being discussed. I'm a part of a work group that actually met this morning. We're going to be meeting throughout the month of June because the grant has to be turned in on the 1st, but this deflection program is supposed to be the first line of trying to defer people from going to jail and getting treatment. Several mental health agencies and different agencies around the city are part of the work group as well, as well as the judge, DA, sheriff, EPD is there, which I was going to say it'd be good to see Chief there. But a lot is being discussed at that particular work group about the rollout of September 1st and trying to get something in place that would help people for deflection is concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, Commissioner Parham, can you provide the first part of our update from the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Subcommittee?
Sure. So we had a chance to speak with Dr. Boos on Tuesday, and she was able to share some really interesting things that are going on with the COPS grant. One of the first things that she was able to inform us further was that the COPS grant is actually going to be for a little bit over $250,000 over the next 2 years, which would be about $178,500 per year. That funding is going to be primarily focused on clinical services and for hiring a culturally competent clinician or clinicians that would be able to service EPD employees. And there's a little bit of talk about having a local provider, or having a local provider and a provider that would be able to be seen just based off cultural relevancy. But I think that it is preferred to have a local person that would be able to service employees. The next part of the grant would be focused on EMDR during critical incident stress debriefs. And this would be something that would be offered to officers that would be involved in these type of incidents. This is something that is actually being offered in departments currently. And it's something that's really cutting edge. And I myself am personally excited about it. They're also looking into teaching this EMDR to peer resource service specialists in the department, so that they could actually utilize those techniques for their peers that they're seeing and counseling. The next part of the grant, the third part of the grant, is for suicide awareness and suicide prevention training, and that this would be provided on a consistent basis. And they're still trying to figure out if this would be something that would be offered through an additional clinician, or through the same clinician that is providing the culturally relevant services. The next part of the grant, if there is funds that are still available, would be for conference travel for members of the department, especially peer resource officers, so that they would be able to learn new trainings and be up to date on the most culturally relevant practices. And lastly, it would be to purchase peer support software called Powerline. And it's a mobile application that allows for peer support specialists to connect to different agencies across the country. And so the timeline for this grant, to know if the department is awarded and how much it will happen in September. So yeah, I'm excited about the grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Parham, for bringing that update. The second part of our update from the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Subcommittee involves a policy we had discussed a few months ago, that the state of Oregon passed a Senate bill requiring officers involved in a critical incident to be offered 2 mental health counseling sessions within 6 months of the incident. The Senate bill does not mandate that an officer attend either one of those sessions, does not mandate hardly anything other than that, if I recall correctly. Current EPD policy for post-critical incident procedures 10.6 currently states supervisors may, now I'm looking at 10.6.5 subsection B subsection 1. Supervisors may, with the concurrence of their division commander or a designee, assign the employee to modified duty or to administrative leave. If an employee is placed on administrative leave or modified duty assignment, the employee must receive a release to return to normal duty. This release may be from a mental health professional working from the employee if that professional has experience in dealing with traumatic incidents. The city reserves the right to require a release from the department psychologist. EPD's policy currently also does not mandate attendance of an officer to a counseling session or any sort of an evaluation. The chief provided for us some policies from other agencies in the state who are also bound under the same Senate bill. And the one that we discussed at the subcommittee meeting is from Hillsborough Police Department. And this policy is 313. It's named Officer Employee Involved Traumatic Incident. There's a section in it for 313.9.2 for mandatory professional counseling, which states each involved officer / employee shall be required to attend a minimum of 2 professional counseling sessions within 6 months of the date of the critical incident. The first professional counseling session must occur prior to allowing the involved officer or employee to return to full duty. There's another section in the policy on the next page that specifically addresses a return to duty evaluation, calling out that it is entirely separate from the mandatory counseling session that has to be attended by the employee. This subcommittee has voted to bring to the police commission our recommendation to include some verbiage in alignment with how Hillsborough Police Department has their policy written. So in our policy, we would add verbiage along the lines of what Hillsborough Police Department has, stating that the involved officer would be required to attend a minimum of 2 professional counseling sessions within 6 months, and the first professional counseling session must occur prior to allowing the involved officer to return to full duty. I will open the floor for questions, discussion, comments. Commissioner Shivers.
Yeah, my first question is where the union stands on this. I understand Naivasha is not there currently. Do we have another avenue to hear what they think?
If you'll take a secondhand report, I met with the union president, and it was expressed to me that a policy edit of this type could be construed as discriminatory because it does rely on the judgment of a third party, the subjective judgment of a third party that could very much involve affect an officer's livelihood, their salary, their ability to provide a home and for their family. So to that, with that information in mind, we did ask the chief to provide some background on that or the chief's response. Chief Skinner, would you?
Well, thank you, Chair Hawkins. I think for purposes of today, what I felt like we were doing is giving an update on our discussion, not going into any kind of work that we need to do, because ultimately what I'm hoping to have happen from this body is for you guys to actually have this policy on your agenda to discuss, come up with language laid at my feet, because what has to happen is I have to bargain it with the union, and I'm the only one that can do that. So if you can craft some language that you're comfortable with, that you think gets us where we need to go, hopefully I'll have some input there, because I know the nuances of how we can maybe get to yes on something. And then basically say, go forth and do your labor management work that you need to do. Then you give me a chance to go do that and see if we can get to something that makes sense. This will be, in our policy, we do call out 6 months. We do call out counseling sessions, but what we don't have is the mandatory counseling session before the return to work. And so I think that's really the key piece here that I would agree with. I lived in the Hillsborough policy was written when I was a deputy chief, so I know why we did it then. I know why it works. That's something that I will advocate for here. I just need some time to get some policy language that we think we can live with, and some time for me to meet with the union to have these bargaining sessions and see if we can get to something.
Thank you, Chief. And yes, to your point, it is not on the agenda for a full hashing out by the police commission tonight. We're providing our recommendation to the police commission. Commissioner.
Can I just say, and the only reason I call that out, you guys, is because it never ceases to amaze me who's listening to this. And what I don't need is a phone call from my union tonight saying, why are you having this discussion about policy changes without having a conversation with us first? So
That's good.
I just need to not get out ahead of them before I have a chance to chat.
Thank you.
With them. Yeah, thanks.
Commissioner Lyman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I have a little bit of discomfort. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I kind of viewed the subcommittee and its work more along the lines of the report that Commissioner Parham that they gave us earlier. But here, like mandating, like I don't want to be dictating or even recommending how the police should respond to a critical. Someone shoots somebody. It's people other than me that should decide when they go back to work, if they should be mandated to go to counseling. Like, I don't know. I couldn't make that call. So, I trust that I mean, I don't mind reviewing the policy and stuff. I just thought that there's enough community issues and the community deserves attention of this commission about the issues that it faces with the police, that this subcommittee, I think, was to the wellness, to promote the wellness, to promote the things that we can do to make sure that these officers are getting taken care of for any, all and everything. But I think diving into the response to critical incidences and being recommending mandating counseling sessions is beyond where I want to be. It's just personal.
Thank you for sharing that. Commissioner Shivers and then Commissioner Lemons.
Yeah, my gut reaction to this is that therapy is less effective when it becomes a power struggle, and that the most effective way to ensure that our officers receive the help that they need or want is to foster a good culture behind it and a supportive department within it. I think we've done a fairly good job so far. So to me, making it a mandatory thing, I would need to see solid reasons why that would be a policy solution rather than a cultural solution.
Thank you. Commissioner Lemons and then Commissioner Booker.
Thank you. And quite honestly, I agree with you, Commissioner Shivers. I think there was one bit of nuance, and please correct me, everyone on that subcommittee, if I got this wrong, but the mandated 2 counseling sessions, the chief would not be seeing that report, nor would the chief be seeing fit for duty or not fit for duty. Those are 2 very different things. The counseling sessions are more to allow the officer to talk about what they went through, heal from it, hopefully. And then if the counselor was to, or if they came to a mutual agreement, it's still not going to come from the counselor. It's going to come from the officer, but then the counselor would back it up and say, yeah, another month off is pertinent and appropriate. And did I get that wrong?
I think for
that separation.
I think for the most part, you've got that. It was mostly we wanted the attendance to the counseling session, but it is entirely separate from that evaluation for return to duty.
Yeah, so it is completely separate from fit for duty.
Right.
And it's personal health information, which is protected, and the chief would never see, nor would the city of Eugene.
Thank you. Commissioner Booker?
Oh, yes, I have to disagree with Commissioner Lyman and Commissioner Shivers. I don't feel like this is a feel-good commission, and I don't think that we're charged with just making sure that we only pay attention to the good things the officers need, especially when the system is set up and it doesn't really affect your cultural dynamic as much as it affects mine. And I think if you sit in on the mental health commission meeting, we do discuss the positive effects of mental health, but there's also another side to that coin that we should never negate or omit when we're talking about mental health. So there's only change and challenge. So if we're only talking about the feel-good things and the things that we should be just providing in a positive manner for our officers, we're not challenging the system and the culture within the police department, which also affects policy. So I like to make that known that we are challenged with this commission to speak for the people in which we represent, which is the community. And if that community is affected by things that the Mental Health Commission could pay attention to, then I think that it's very warranted that we bring those issues to this commission and to this body. And furthermore, it would negate your point, Commissioner Lyman, about discussing qualified immunity if we only discussed things that were relevant to the policy or the feel-good environment of the police. We are charged with challenging the system, but also awarding the parts of the system that work. But there are a lot of parts of the system that do not work. There's training that needs to be had in terms of implicit bias. There's training that needs to be had in terms of microaggressions and stereotypes. These are things that we need to be discussing as a body and how it relates to policy before we say, oh, we shouldn't be talking about those things. So I want to make sure that that's on the table, that we are charged with challenging the policy, but there are factors outside of that that we should bring to attention, especially when we're discussing policy and how it might affect certain cultural citizens within this community.
Councilor Ye, and then Commissioner Lemons, and then Commissioner Shivers.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I guess I'm gonna partially agree with Commissioner Lyman in that I think I misunderstood the fundamental point of this committee, and maybe I should sit in and like watch a few episodes or go back episodes. It's been a long day, I'm sorry. To kind of catch myself up on what is being talked about, because I guess I just also kind of misunderstood what you would all be working on, and the I thought it would be more like you know, we're talking to our union or talking to officers and figuring out how we could support them, and it sounds like it is a little bit of that, but it's some other things too. I'm not saying that I think this is a bad idea. Like, I'd really love to hear more about how it's working in Hillsborough and your experience with that. And I think that sounds really interesting and could be very useful. But I just wanted to say that I also sort of misunderstood. Not that it's not a judgment call. It's just I misunderstood.
Commissioner Lemons?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So from my perspective, the Law Enforcement Mental Health Subcommittee is entirely focused on making sure officers have the appropriate and accessible supports. I have not seen too much trying to hold accountability or anything. That's more on the CRB and the auditor. Yes, the community will benefit by proxy from having more officers that have mental health supports. But from my perspective, sitting in and participating in the subcommittee, we are totally focused on making sure that the officers have the supports. So I don't know where this got derailed a little bit. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yeah, it seems like we have two goals that are not mutually exclusive: supporting officers and ensuring that they do the best job they can in our community for the sake of the community itself, right? And I don't think that these are mutually exclusive goals. Indeed, the reason that I'm worried about making these things mandatory is because I'm worried about fostering a combative atmosphere within the department, where if there's studies, if you force people to vote, they go and they vote for Mickey Mouse or what have you. And I believe that the best outcome, both for our officers and for our communities, particularly our most impacted communities, is a police force that is invested in, in their own mental health, and in a culture that is supportive rather than combative within the department, especially when we don't need to be, right? One of the privileges of serving on this commission rather than in CRB is that our job is not to hold officers accountable. Our job is to hold the system accountable. And that means setting up a system that brings justice for all affected parties. Thank you.
Commissioner Lyman?
Just really briefly, I think one of the points I was making that might have gotten lost is that we're spending how many officers have critical incidents? I mean, so few. It's to me that it came across as spending a lot of time on an important issue, and they should be supported. But I did have an impression that we were talking more the committee, and I appreciate Councilor's suggestion that I should attend one of your subcommittees and I can grow from that. But I was just to discuss like something that happens so infrequently and that's controversial and everything, that the use of time is kind of where I was coming from. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just, on our police commission website, the subcommittees, all of our recordings, our Zoom recordings are on there in the minutes. So you can go back there and watch them or review the minutes if you'd like.
Thank you.
You can binge watch those episodes.
Yes.
Councilor Ye. Okay. So that does that for the update from, sorry, Commissioner Lemons. Oh.
Actually, well, maybe.
Commissioner Booker, did you have your hand up?
Oh, I did, but it was just in reference to just to understand that I think for the first time this last subcommittee, Chief and I finally agreed on something.
We made sure to put it on the record of that meeting too.
So I would like to pinpoint that there are times within the meetings that I definitely understand the atmosphere and condition that the officers experience being a fellow combat veteran, understanding that mindset. But also too, I like to challenge Chief in a lot of things because I guess, and he would agree, there are things that need implemented in terms of improving implicit bias, these type of things that I continuously bring up. These are things that we definitely have to pay attention to if we're serving our community at large, especially those mostly affected by the racial climate now and as it continues to grow the closer we get to the election.
Thank you. Chief, let's segue into Chief's report.
Okay, I've got a lot of notes as a result of your dialogue, so I'm going to try and scream through some of these in no particular order because they're all over my page. In reference to our most recent conversation around the policy that we reviewed at the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Subcommittee, it's specifically tied to Senate Bill 111, which is specifically tied to officer-involved shootings. So when you think about the numbers of officer-involved shootings we have here, it's minimal. I don't even want to jinx myself right now and say, but it's minimal. So that's what we're talking about is mandating an opportunity to have some wellness counseling before coming back, and it likely would be kind of and hopefully never have to be used. But ultimately, realistically, it would be used infrequently, but nevertheless it would happen. And I'm happy to share my experiences in Hillsborough at a different time if we're going to dig into this and be able to do that. But your point is well taken, talking about infrequent types of things. The concept of critical incident is what's so interesting, is because that can be defined as a variety of things depending on who the officer is. I'll share with this committee, with this commission, that we had a very young officer that within a 48-hour period this last week not only had to do CPR on a 10-month-old that didn't survive, but then had to respond to an 11-year-old death by suicide, gunshot wound to the head. And that officer is now off duty and getting the care that he needs before he comes back. But there's no policy that mandates that he go to counseling before he comes back. And those are the much more frequent things that we deal with on a day in and day out basis. So the trauma is real, whether it's in an OIS, officer involved shooting, or just the day in and day out stuff. So that's happening right now. Couple other things. I wanted to report on online reporting. There was somebody at some point we talked about our online reporting solution and wanting a little bit of update on that. I'll tell you, we're approaching our first anniversary in July from the implementation. We've taken over 8,000 reports on our online reporting solution, and we've had languages, English, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, and Korean all used. Certainly the lion's share of that is English is being used on that. And the crimes, the large majority of the crimes that are reported on there, as you can imagine, are theft-related crimes, shoplift, theft from motor vehicle, those types of things in there. But it seems to be being accessed by our community and accessed robustly. Over a half of those are being accessed by mobile device, either iPhone or Android, which is really what we were trying to do, is open up the opportunity for reporting for those individuals that don't have the luxury of having a laptop or a desktop to do that. There's still certainly some of that reporting that's happening, but many people are snapping photos, taking videos, and engaging the online reporting that way. And so we're really happy with those numbers, and that will only go up as we think about standing up the kiosk in our lobby here, and the kiosks that we want to put around the community as a result of the community safety payroll tax, being able to put kiosks in some key places around the community, so it makes people, or it offers people more of an opportunity to be able to report crime online. Commissioner Lemons, and now into Commissioner Booker, your HRC transition, Lieutenant Jeremy Williams, who has done such a fantastic job of communicating with you, it sounds like, has recently broken his femur in half and is not with us for a while. He had a mountain bike accident, and he broke the femoral head off the top of his femur, and now he's going to be convalescing. So you're probably going to get a pitch hitter on those, and I'm not sure who that's going to be, but we're wishing Jeremy well and hoping he gets back to being able to help out at the HRC types of things. The Measure 110 update, Commissioner Booker did a nice job of talking about deflection. We are also actively engaged operationally in what that looks like. There are two things going on, Commissioner Parham. There's the deflection piece, and then to your point, our ability to communicate with the community on expectations around that as the floodgates open and people want to report open air drug use, what they can expect from our department, and we're working on what that response potentially could look like. The biggest thing we're focusing on is trying through House Bill 4002, trying to identify those crimes that would be eligible for deflection that obviously are possession, but also what other crimes would somebody be committing that would be an opportunity for deflection. One of the challenges we have is some language or some statutory issues around when crimes actually have a victim attached to it, that the victim does have rights, and offering deflection for to a perpetrator that the victim doesn't feel like they have remedy through the system, they may not be included in some of those deflected crimes. But we're working on what those crimes are going to be. We're working with DA-elect Perosa because these are going through circuit court, not our municipal court. These will be going through circuit court and being able to do that. And then, of course, operationally, what it looks like to us in the field, whether it is waiting for a peer navigator to show up for the warm handoff, whether it's a location that we drop them off in the hopes that the stabilization center gets built in the future, that is drop off. But whatever it looks like, if it's going to be in lieu of jail, it can't be in lieu of jail and we have officers standing around for hours waiting for somebody to show up to take the person off our hands. It's just operationally that's not going to work for us in the field. And so, and I say all of that to suggest that there's a lot of provisions in 4002 that speak to repeat offenders, offenders that are in deflection and then reoffend. All of that stuff's getting worked out. And so it's a big discussion. There's money to be had to be able to build something. And so we're kind of, we're not quite building it while we fly it, but it feels like that sometimes because, September 1st is going to be here really, really quick. And we want to have some kind of a system in place for officers. And it needs to be something super simple and easy checklist. If this, then this type of a workflow for our officers so they can make those decisions in the field and then get back to serving the community in other ways. So more to come on that. The last thing I would say, hiring, I think I maybe mentioned last month, hiring is actually on an uptick. I've got 10 starting on Monday, 10 brand new cops starting on Monday. And they will start their in-house academy. There is a couple officers of color, but not Black officers that I know of, Commissioner Booker, that have identified as Black. I just want to go ahead and answer the question before you ask me. I'm learning, I'm learning where you're going with this. So I'm trying to be a lifelong learner here. And so I'm excited about that. We had a couple weekends ago, we had 30 officers over the course of the weekend working on overtime just to meet our minimum staffing levels. That is not sustainable. When we talk about making good decisions in the field and being well in the field, it goes, certainly the mental wellness is important and the mental health is important, but their physical wellness is important. And having exhausted officers in the field have a tendency to make bad decisions. So we don't want to do that. Same with our dispatchers. We're trying to make sure that we're taking care of our dispatchers. So hiring more bodies is going to be helpful and we'll be able to do that. And then the last thing I'll say, because I know that Commissioner Lemons is going to talk a little bit more about this, is that understand that as Commissioner Lemons talks about some of the hate and bias stuff that we see in this community, the way the criminal statute works is it's bias in the first and second degree. Those are the crimes. Bias in the first degree is based on perceived protected class. essentially you're physically assaulted and meets the definition of an assault. Bias in the second degree is basically based on your protected class, you're tampering with the property of another. So bias in the second degree is designed to capture things that are less than assault and more succinctly like criminal mischief that happens because of somebody's perception of your race, ethnicity, religion, homeless status, those types of things. We see a lot of that happening, like for instance, Temple Beth Israel experiences a lot of graffiti, which would be just a criminal mischief. But in this case, it would be bias in the second degree because of the perception of the protected class. So you have bias first, second degree, and then a separate statute for display of a noose that was added, whether it was last year or the year before last. That's a separate thing. I did check in with Travis Smith, who's our city prosecutor. Bias in the second degree is a misdemeanor and it goes through municipal court. And we often charge bias 2 with the homeless precursor and prosecute those. Bias in the first degree is a C felony and it goes to circuit court, but the state doesn't recognize homelessness as a protected class. And so it is not in the bias in the first degree arena when it goes to circuit court, but the city of Eugene has recognized homelessness as a protected status, and we are charging and prosecuting those in municipal court on a fairly regular basis. Of our bias 2, Travis said, of our bias 2 charges and prosecutions, the majority of those are the protected status is homelessness. So that is happening there. So with that, I'll stop because I know I have usually a lot of questions.
Commissioner Parham and then Commissioner Booker, and I'm sure Commissioner Lemons too.
Yeah, I was just curious, really quickly, if the department was going to publicly address the potential for bias to come out in terms of enforcing the Measure 110 changes this September.
I guess I'd have to better understand what you're thinking there, Commissioner Parham. Are you talking about the bias and with respect to who we're engaged with for potential arrest or deflection? And if that's the case, all of that would fall under our stop. Most of that, not all of it, most of that would fall under our stops data mandate, where all traffic stops and person stops we have to record all of that data and report to the state criminal justice commission. I think it's CJC. So many of those things, because they will be mostly person stops. So somebody calls and says, hey, so-and-so is using drugs. And we go down and we contact so-and-so. That's that person stop. That triggers us to also report that in our stops data, which gathers all of that demographic information. And then we get a report every year to see if if there is disparate treatment between our activities and the stops that we're making, both vehicle and subject stops.
I guess I only bring it up to see if there's a way to be preemptive and possibly avoiding the biases that can come out in September. If the department would even do like an implicit bias training, I mean, if there isn't already implicit bias trainings that happen.
Yeah, there's already those that happen periodically, especially with all the new hiring we have. They also get some of that training at the academy. So the newest cops get some of that training up at the academy. What will be interesting though is, unlike traffic stops that are self-initiated by officers, and unlike most subject stops which are self-initiated by officer, many of these calls will be community initiated. So the bias may not always be held with the officer. It could be held with a community member calling in. And so that's the piece that's hard to control, is a certain neighborhood that has a tendency to relentlessly call us over certain individuals, and then we respond as a result of trying to answer that call for service. So there's that kind of, vicarious bias that we kind of absorb based on a community member that sees something that they feel like, and we see that all the time. especially like with our homeless population or our mentally ill or behavioral health issues, people call and want to say, oh, this is super dangerous. And the reason it's dangerous is because they're uncomfortable with what they see, not necessarily because it's dangerous or it's criminal. And so we wade through that all the time.
Commissioner Booker?
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to say, wish Lieutenant Jeremy a speedy recovery. I'm going to miss him. Secondly, Chief, I do hope that you come to the next deflection meeting. A lot of what you said could be utilized at that particular roundtable, especially given your position. I definitely think your voice is needed at that discussion. There is a police officer there, but having a patrol person and then a sheriff really doesn't speak to a lot of the things that are discussed that you could address in the room. More pointedly, to Commissioner Parham's, I do disagree that it's not hard to control. When the culture in the department has a zero tolerance policy when it comes to implicit bias, microaggressions, stereotypes, then it starts to pour over into the community. The community then feels that. They could tell when the culture has changed within the department. Frequent training, I know you said it's not an ongoing thing, but frequent training when it comes to implicit bias, microaggressions, and stereotype is warranted and definitely needed. That's one of the things that's being discussed, especially with a budget of 1.9 million, which is what's been allocated right now towards this deflection program. I think a great deal of that, or not a great deal, I should say. I say a good part of that should go to outside agency training on implicit bias, stereotypes, and microaggressions, et cetera. And that training be frequent. Several different agencies and different people were identified who could provide that. But again, as these discussions continue to be ongoing, it'd be good to see you there, Chief, so we can kind of hash out a lot of what's discussed in there, especially the criminality that's affiliated with the Black community when an officer shows up. A lot of times it's hard to, the idea is already guilty. And a lot of times there's not a lot of dialogue that's exchanged between an officer when he's responding to a Black person. This is known throughout the community, it's felt throughout the community. That relationship is definitely tarnished and definitely needs to be worked upon, which is why several people are at the table to discuss what needs to transpire with this deflection program. But definitely I'd like to see you there because a lot could be said for what you're trying to change culturally within the department, especially given the incidents that have been in the news when it comes to lawsuits and biases and different things like that within the department. And this also led to us as a commission wanting to push for a cultural audit, which I hope is still ongoing on your part, Chief. But yeah, I would love to see you there so we could discuss a lot of these and hear your voice at the table. There were 2 previously incarcerated Black men there that gave a lot of insight into a lot of the roadblocks and why the system doesn't work and why the system continuously criminalizes the Black community in a lot of instances that are not talked about or discussed. So I'll stop on that, and hopefully, Chief, you'll come to the next deflection meeting and can hear a lot of what's discussed and how we can work closer with the police department and changing a lot of the culture and the way they respond and handle certain incidences, and also making sure that a lot of the Black community is not because the power resides in the officer, the responding officer, and if you deflect it or go to jail. So we want to make sure that decision, and as you pointed out, there's not a lot of time, but that decision with even less time is not does not warrant any kind of implicit bias, stereotypes, or microaggression.
Yeah, I'm happy to attend those meetings. Just I would point out that there's a variety of deflection meetings that are happening, and then I am attending some of those at that kind of highest policy level. I don't know exactly the meeting that you're in, but I'm happy to come to that. The one thing that I wanted to make sure that I infuse in those meetings, though, is a deep operational understanding of how this looks on the street. And the last person you need to be making decisions about how it looks on the street is somebody that hasn't worked the street for the last 25 years, which is me. So I'm going to have somebody there that I want to make sure that has the right kind of look and feel for how this looks operationally. But I'm with you. I'm fully engaged with DA Perosa and Clint Riley, who is the project manager for the deflection program, and have met with them a couple of times already, but happy to come to whatever meeting I need to.
All right, thank you, Chief.
You bet.
Commissioner Lemons.
Thank you, Chair. So just like you, doing my best to put this in some kind of order, but just a bunch of notes. So first of all, I just wanted to thank you for signing policy 1210 and extending the retention period and seeing the value in doing so. I still do hope to see an overarching policy, and I'm sure the Human Rights Commission and Dr. Booker will keep that on our radar. Secondly, and I would really appreciate a bit of a conversation about this. I think Oregon might be a bit weird compared to other states, but what is the definition of assault in Oregon?
Yeah, so we have 4 levels of assault in Oregon: assault 1 through assault 4. The majority of the assaults that we respond to, and as you can imagine, assault 4 is the lowest level of assault, all the way to assault 1, which is the highest level of assault. And each one has what we call elements of the crime, or the elements of the crime that we have to be able to, through our investigation, be able to develop probable cause to believe occurred. In the ORS, there are a variety of definitions to help us do that. And assault 4 is the one we deal with the most, which identifies assault 4 as the victim experiencing impairment of physical condition or substantial pain. And so the impairment of physical condition is largely, we can visually see that you're injured, you're feeling impaired as a result of it, and or something maybe we don't see, like internal injuries, but you're in substantial pain. And so we allow for the victim to help lead us down that path. The physical impairment piece is much more visual. Take pictures, the officer can form an opinion to develop probable cause that it's an assault 4. The victim can articulate substantial pain, and we will hopefully ask a few questions to better understand what substantial pain means for somebody to be able to get us to that. The lower rung to that, which has a tendency to capture much more of these things, is harassment, which is offensive physical contact. When you've been physically contacted, it's offensive to you. That doesn't rise to the level of the assault 4. The harassment statute kind of catches the rest of those. So it's hard to articulate. I mean, there's some examples of when an assault 4, we feel like there's a good assault in the 4th degree, and it's as anything, there's some discretion. Not everybody sees it the same way, obviously, but we tried our very, very best to articulate that the impairment of the physical condition or the substantial pain for assault. And then the next layer up there is serious physical injury, which is the next level, which is like extreme impairment of bodily functions, and some other types of things, to include use of a dangerous or deadly weapon, and those kinds of things, that it escalates from there.
And these are ORS.
ORS. 163 is the chapter in the ORS. Yeah, and 163.015 is where the definitions are. Yep.
So I guess I know EPD cannot change state law. So I'm wondering, because significant physical harm, that's a very big burden, whereas, and I'm sorry, I'm talking personal experience, but like, what about the trauma, the counseling appointments, the lack of sleep, the effect on my work employment? So I know EPD can't change state law, but I was wondering if EPD could maybe collaborate with OECE to provide supports around this area.
Well, we're always looking for ways to connect with the Office of Equity and Community Engagement on those types of things. As much as we try to take a victim-centered approach to everything we do, I also am mindful that When you get 105,000 calls for service a year, sometimes it feels like we're not as, we don't spend as much time with our victims as we'd like to. And so that's why oftentimes, whether it's through municipal court or circuit court, there's a victim assistance type of program to come alongside those people. We're trying to work on something like that specifically for domestic violence victims, because like when we respond to domestic violence victims, we're doing the investigation. We're trying to put a bad person in jail. I won't always say a bad guy because we see it both ways. A bad person in jail, which is a mandated arrest. But then oftentimes that victim is felt very underserved. And so we're trying to build a system by which volunteers can come out and do kind of the victim services piece of that. And so, you know, the OECE role could be more, maybe talk a little bit about what that looks like for victims, a victim services type of model that would exist in there. But we're always looking for a way to collaborate.
And from my experience over the last month, every single officer understands the entire policy, and I just have so much praise. And I really wanted to shout out Officer Jordan.
Allison Jordan.
Well, I didn't know her first name.
Yes.
Officer Allison Jordan. She has been just so amazing and supportive of me. So thank you for that one. And thank you, Officer Jordan. Really appreciate you. My next question was on Measure 110 and the deflection program. Once you finally come to a place, will that be a future policy proposal that the police commission is going to be discussing?
That's a really good question. I don't know is the answer I'm going to give you, because it's more of a police procedure issue than it is a policy issue. And I understand policy and procedure are two different documents, two different things that we do. I think Commissioner Lemons, I'm not going to answer your question with an affirmative or negative on that. What I'm going to say is I want to see what the county builds first, because it's their job to build a deflection program. It's just our job to follow the rules, but it's county's work to build a deflection program. And so it's just a little bit too soon for me to know what it looks like, to see what it would maybe look like from a policy perspective. But happy to have that conversation when it gets built.
Thank you. So next one. So from that last meeting, and that's why the minutes were tabled. So having the least experienced officers on what I would consider the highest acuity and hardest shifts. Is that a union bargaining thing, or is that an internal practice?
So the way this works is the union environment is seniority based for bidding their shifts. So the more senior officers get to bid the shifts that they want and the day off pattern that they want. So it's probably not a shock that maybe some of our most experienced officers are choosing to work day shift and having a certain day off pattern that meets their needs. And our youngest officers are kind of left with what's left. And oftentimes what's left is the weekend nights, and from a seniority thing. So it doesn't mean all of our newest officers are on weekend nights, but historically we see a higher percentage of inexperienced officers working weekend nights. One of the things that we've done a couple of years ago outside of the bargaining contract is I've offered differential pay. So they get paid, and I'm not going to be perfect about this. It's either 3 or 5% more to bid weekend nights, to incentivize our experienced officers to bid weekend nights. And I've done that outside of the contract within my own budget through salary savings to try and incentivize that for both sergeants and officers, so we can get a little bit of a better spread of experience across the 7-day-a-week coverage that we have. So we're working on it, and we recognize that that's a challenge, that we have some of our busiest nights and times have our least experienced officers. And if you're a part of CRB, you will constantly have conversations about the propensity when you're a really young agency, you make really young agency mistakes. And we see some of that happening and being able to do that. So it's a nuance in almost every department I've ever been with that has a seniority-based system, is that our most experienced officers often choose to not work weekend nights.
And is that union or internal practice?
That's a union. Seniority is a union practice.
Okay, thank you. Next up, policy 9.6, which is included, it was subtly included in our last packet. And that's about the drug enforcement officers. And I just wanted to highlight again about how much that disadvantages people with disabilities.
The drug enforcement officers, I'm not following.
Drug recognition officers.
The DREs?
Yes.
Drug recognition
Yeah, the
officers.
DREs.
And talked
the-
about DREs last month?
No, it was a policy that had an update to it, and they get those updates,
Oh,
so they
okay.
can go look at them.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
And I slightly brought it up last time.
Okay.
And I just wanted
No,
to
that's fine.
bring it. So, people with disabilities obviously have medications in their systems,
Right.
or at least a lot of us do.
Right.
And those medications have half-lives way beyond what a drug test could tell.
Right.
Let alone all the citizens of Oregon get to smoke marijuana.
Right.
And that stays in your system for 30 days. So this is a huge disability rights issue, but also a constitutional issue. And I was wondering if you would consider what Australia has done with rolling out, especially marijuana tests, but also other tests that can that they can detect recent use versus what's in your blood system.
So a DRE is only, I shouldn't use it absolutes because there may be an example. The majority of our DRE use and a DRE use statewide is as a result of a traffic stop. Of drug recognition experts are mostly used to identify if somebody is impaired after they've been stopped. And generally speaking, there's other coexisting behaviors that have been observed in either driving or personal behaviors that start to build a case of probable cause as to whether or not you were driving under the influence of an intoxicant, which is DUII. So the DREs are brought in to be able to identify whether or not somebody's impaired. So they're actually, you actually do want DREs that are doing this and not just officers, because officers don't have the type of training that DREs have to identify exactly what you're talking about. It's not uncommon for us to have stopped somebody with bad driving and think they're impaired, and it could be low blood sugar or diabetic type of thing, and a DRE actually shows up and is able to identify, because of their training, no, this is not a drug issue, this is a diabetic issue, and let's call a medic and do that. Only after probable cause exists that we believe that that they're under the influence to a noticeable and perceptible degree, based on the totality of the circumstances, that an arrest is made, and then ultimately either a breath test or a blood test is taken under those probable cause circumstances. And that DRE is the one that helps build that probable cause. So a world without DREs then leaves this in the hands to our really inexperienced officers, just making a judgment call based on what they see. So I'm not quite sure exactly what maybe your recommendation would be around the DRE policy, but having DREs is going to be really important. I actually think it brings an opportunity for a better outcome for those people that are experiencing things, because you actually have officers that are trained to understand what's going on with them and those types of things. So
I absolutely concur, and thank you for bringing up people with diabetes.
Yeah.
Just please understand. So I completely agree that we should have DREs everywhere. Maybe they should have some more disability training to understand how different people communicate in different ways, where someone might seem impaired, but that's because of their disability.
So a DDRE, a drug and disabled recognition expert, we could do something like that.
The protocol is designed, if I'm not a fan, and I would talk to you outside of this, as to why, and I do think it's important, but it's flawed, I think, but it's designed to corroborate the blood test that's coming, or the breath test, generally blood, because breath, they're not using a DRE for alcohol. So the result of this examination that happens through this DRE is then taken and compared to the DRE predicts positive methamphetamine, it looks like, a stimulant to me. And then it comes in as, yes, positive a stimulant. Now they have a case of DUII. I mean, so it's designed to corroborate the perception that a person's impaired. And it's kind of a medical exam performed by a trained non-medical person. If that's
rare. I think they should all be brought to the hospital, and like people who are actually more qualified to make that can, figure that one out. But anyways, yeah, we'll talk offline about that one. And then the last two questions I have for you, I do not expect an answer right now, because these are questions that I've asked in the past and they're big ones. So what lessons were learned from the 2020 riots, and what changes to policy were made, especially regarding the ad hoc policy? And I really do hope that we do get a presentation on the police commission about qualified immunity so we can have a more informed discussion.
Yeah. I'm going to take that in reverse order. The qualified immunity discussion is we're trying to find a qualified person to be able to talk about qualified immunity. And our first couple of attempts to do that has not been successful. I think it's important to have, because qualified immunity shows up in a lot of different areas. It's not just in police. And so just the concept of what qualified immunity looks like, and qualified immunity, in my estimation, has a couple of different components, both criminal and mostly civil, but on whether somebody can civilly be held accountable based on qualified immunity. So we're working on that. The second piece is I'm working on, we have a matrix that shows all the work that we've done with the ad hoc to include policy changes, policy recommendations, practice changes. It folds in the 23 different legislative measures that were passed in the long session of 2021 that oftentimes overlap with some of the ad hoc recommendations. So there is a document out there. I'm not sure if I need to check and see if it's a public facing document or not. I'm looking at Holly because she knows what I'm talking about. I need to check and see if it's a public facing document. I think it probably is. City Council got this presentation with the matrix. So if that's the case, Councilor Ye, my guess is,
See if it's on the website really quick.
my guess is that it is public facing, but it walks you through all of that to be able to do that. And so that might be a really good place to start, and then happy to have a discussion about things that we have questions about. But there is some information on there.
The matrix is on the website, so if you search for ad hoc committee on police policy, City of Eugene, it's in giant blue letters, status matrix. And you can click on it and it opens up this 15-page matrix. And let me know if you have questions after you. I know you're going to read all 15 pages.
Lastly, I want to bring up the intersection between qualified immunity and then mutual aid. I really think the police commission should be focused on mutual aid policies going forward. And that's the end of me. Thank you.
Entire shopping cart? Okay. Commissioner Booker?
Oh, yeah. Just in terms of the deflection program, I like to emphasize the training aspect. And this kind of segues into our meeting minutes. On page 4, we discussed the cultural audit, and I think Commissioner Lyman also brought up the fact of requesting a culture audit not be internal. But and again, I think you challenged the internal wording on that. But can we get an update on where we are in the implementation of that cultural audit, or making that come to fruition?
I have a contract and a scope of work that's sitting in my contracts department now, making sure that the City of Eugene language is appropriately inserted. And I have consultants that are waiting to engage just as soon as I get the thumbs up from that. So if I had to make a best guess, I would say that they would get started with some of their first baseline information gathering. I'd like to say by the end of this month, but I want to safely say early July.
Yeah. And I asked that because that plays heavily into the deflection program itself, is the culture within EPD and responding, and the need for implicit bias training, microaggression training, stereotype training within EPD. So it plays heavily into the deflection program. So hopefully we'd like to see progress on the cultural audit, and also further discussion on the training that's needed as we continue the discussion on the deflection aspect. So thank you, Chief.
Okay. Thank you, Chief, for your report and taking all of the shopping cart. Next item on our agenda is a continued review of procedure 1218 regarding the naloxone, also known as Narcan. At our last meeting, we voted to recommend that Narcan be carried in each of the Eugene PD patrol cars. After we voted that and the chief accepted our recommendation, we received some information regarding the proper and safe storage of Narcan nasal spray. In the blister and cartons provided is to be stored at controlled room temperature, 68 degrees to 77 degrees. Excursions are permitted between 41 degrees to 104 degrees. These are in Fahrenheit measures. Do not freeze or expose to excessive heat above 104 degrees. Considering this information, it might not be viable to store Narcan in police cruisers due to variations of temperatures. When Holly and I met with Sergeant Barong with this new information, we discussed some of the other options that may be open to us. Sergeant Barong, I do see you on the Zoom. If you're able to come off with mute, that would be fantastic. If my understanding of our conversation is correct, when the officers leave headquarters and go to the car, they're carrying their duffel bag as well as their weapons, and they carry that to the car, and then they bring that back to headquarters after their shift is completed. My proposal is that we request that the Narcan be in that duffel bag that they're carrying to the car.
Yes, I am on the call. I think that Chief Skinner wanted to have the opportunity to talk about this, but yes, the officers do carry their equipment to the vehicle when they start their shift, and then they have the equipment that they return back to their locker at the end of the shift. So it could be a viable option to have it stored there with them.
Thank you, Sergeant. Chief?
You know, I think the spirit of what we were trying to accomplish is to make sure that Narcan is readily available if needed. I would suggest that it is under the current policy. There's never been an instance where we haven't had Narcan readily available. As a matter of fact, we actually are administering Narcan too much and too quickly. Oftentimes, our multiple dose Narcan is happening too close together, and there's some studies to suggest that Narcan has very little effect on fentanyl overdose. It's mostly useful in the other hard and dangerous drugs. So, in an effort to move forward to try and achieve the next level of this, I think issuing Narcan to officers and having it be a part of their gear bag as a piece of equipment in their gear bag seems reasonable to go down that path and to be able to do that. Understanding that Narcan is a perishable item, we run out, we try to order, there's a shortage of it. Sometimes we have more on hand and sometimes we have less. We try to order it in bulk, and so it's not a fail-safe by any stretch, just like any of our other perishable pieces of equipment. But I think that could be a reasonable alternative to the vehicle issue that could obviously overheat or freeze the Narcan with that substance sitting in cars for sometimes days on end without having been driven. So,
Commissioner Parham?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the department for taking that stance.
So then I will make a motion then that we revise our recommendation to, instead of having the Narcan in each of the patrol cars, the Narcan is in each of the gear bags that the officer takes to the patrol car. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Lemons and Commissioner Parham. We can vote on this. So all in favor of changing the recommendation so that the Narcan is issued to in the officers' gear bags to carry to their car for their shifts. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And any abstentions, please let me know. Seeing no opposition and no abstentions, Unanimously moved. Chief, that's our new recommendation. Thank you so much for bringing that back to us so that we could have a better finger on that one. That's the fastest we've ever gotten through a policy, guys. So now let's go into closing comments. What the heck? Let's go in alphabetical order. Commissioner Booker.
Well, I'm gonna ask you to go last. I was writing some stuff down.
Okay, I'll move you to the bottom.
Thank you.
Now that you didn't give me time to figure out how the alphabet works. Busted. All right. We'll go backwards then. Councilor Zelenka.
No comments.
Thank you. Councilor Ye.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Moger is gone.
I believe so.
Okay, I'll email him or call him later. But Scott, I want to thank you for being on this commission. I have really appreciated your unique perspective that you brought to the table. I'm gonna miss it. I'm sure there are other people that will bring similar perspectives, but I hope that you will reach out. I know you're gonna keep your eye on how things are going, so I hope you'll reach out if you have things you want to share.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to write out my alphabet. Commissioner Shivers.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here today, and I'm sorry to see the folks who are leaving go. I'm excited to meet the new folks who are coming on board, and I look forward to working with all you next year.
Commissioner Parr.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Commissioner Lemons for their service to this body and for the perspective that they brought and for representing the disabled community to the extent that they did and for bringing a viewpoint and a perspective that sometimes came at odds to the commission. It was very inspiring and it provided me with the courage to bring my voice. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to wish you luck and success in your next endeavors or your continued endeavors with the Human Rights Commission, because the work you're doing is so important there. And to the new commissioners, I just wanted to tell y'all congratulations and welcome, and I look forward to working with all of you this upcoming session. Thank you.
Commissioner Lemons.
Thank you, Chair. Sadly, I'm saying goodbye today. Actually, it's a see you later. It's never goodbye. But I just want to thank every single person in this room and on the screen for caring so much about our community and for making me feel so welcome here. I really feel that we have accomplished so much since I've been here, and I'm so hopeful and so looking forward to seeing what you all are going to do going forward. I'm a Boy Scout through and through, and the Boy Scout motto is leave it better than you found it. And I really do feel that the Police Commission is in a better spot than I came in when I started. Not because of me, because of all of us. But thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being friends. Thank you for being colleagues. Thank you, Chief Skinner, especially for dealing with my shopping cart every single time.
I think you need to give the chief a certificate.
I know, right? Right? Can I award you?
Get rid of me.
Commissioner Lyman.
Thank you. No more lemons, lime, and secret, but finally got them next to each other there. I don't react every time I hear his name anymore. So no, you will be missed, and I echo all the comments. I thought it was good, the mental health subcommittee conversation that we had. And I want to clarify what I heard Dr. Booker say a lot. I think one of the most important jobs of this commission is the core, like cultural competency, implicit bias, microaggression. And I view all of that as a training thing. I think that's where my confusion with your subcommittee came from, because those are clearly, to me, training issues and not so the name of your subcommittee may have been even what kind of threw me. And I will go back and review when we formed it and what you all have been doing. But those issues,
I can't think of anything more important that we as a group could make sure that our department, because as you said, Dr. Booker, that's what they go out with that training, and that the interactions with the community will improve. No, so yes, I just didn't view it as mental health and wellness, and I don't want to be caught in the semantic. We are in alignment. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Booker.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to say thank you. I had to write all my notes down. Thank you to the Dallas, the award to going to Dallas and his family for being here first and foremost. Say thank you and see you later to our commissioners that are losing, and then congrats to the establishment on our won't say new chair, but we're a returning chair and our new vice chair, or a returning chair, vice chair. I know you've been had the position, one of the two, but and I just want to say I look forward to challenging each other and the system, and just remember there's no progress without change and no change without challenge. So just understand that that's the perspective I always come from. And most of us who challenge the system are those who are mostly affected, and I feel that being a Black member of our community. So I look forward to the ongoing conversations, the cultural audits, the deflection program, and hopefully getting that to work and come to fruition as it's being discussed. And yeah, thank you, Chief. Finally got our first agreement. Hopefully looking for many more to come. But thank you for allowing me to speak, Chair, and look forward to the next meeting.
Thank you. For my closing comments, it's an honor to be elected chair. I realized that over the past year, I've been vice chair, I've been acting chair, I've been interim chair, and next month I will return to you as just chair. So that will be an even newer experience for me. Our next meeting, because we are welcoming our new commissioners, will be in person. The online link for our next meeting will not be provided unless there is an excused absence by the chair. Do we have any public comment tonight? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, when's the next meeting? Do you have a date?